The Secret World of Hildegard by Jonah Winter, illustrated by Jeanette Winter. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, in the time known as the Middle Ages, men ruled over the earth, and these men were very gray, and the buildings they built were very gray, and all the towns were very gray, and all the gray towns were run by mayors who were men. Girls were not allowed to go to school, and most girls could not read. They were taught to serve and obey all the boys around them. They were taught to keep quiet and be very gray. Now it came to pass in these Middle Ages, in the kingdom of Germany, a very special girl was born. Her name was Hildegard, and she had great power that was hidden from view. From the time of her birth, she had the power to see a whole world invisible to other people. Before she could even talk, she saw a world inside her head so bright it made her tremble. But she knew not what it meant, for she was just a baby. And lo, Hildegard was only 3 years old. She predicted the color of a calf that had not yet been born. Her prediction came true. This alarmed her parents. "How could you have known this?" they asked. "You're just a little girl." Hildegard explained about the world inside her head. "There are flames and stars," she said to her parents. But after saying this, Hildegard felt scared. What if her parents did not believe her? What if she got in trouble? And so, scared and alone, Hildegard kept the secret world all to herself, safely locked away inside her head. But alas, this brought on great headaches, and the headaches sometimes lasted for days. Sometimes her head hurt so badly she couldn't get out of bed. And there was grayness and silence and sorrow, though a light shone brightly inside her. In time, it was decided that Hildegard would be sent away. Her parents knew of a holy woman who took in special girls, like Hildegard. Maybe she could help the sickly girl. On the way, Hildegard cried and cried. Why was she being sent away? Did her parents not love her? Was there something wrong with her? Why couldn't she just be normal? She believed in God. But where was he now? Why wasn't he answering her? Out of the mist there arose a great stone building. It looked like a castle or a prison. It looked like very cold and very gray. It was where she was being taken, a monastery, half in ruins. Even so, inside it was beautiful. There were flowering gardens. There were candles. She heard lovely, haunting melodies. Hildegard was led through one stone hallway and then another, up one stairway and down another. Until she arrived at the big stone door of the room where she was to live. When she entered, she saw that the room was made entirely of stone. There was hardly any furniture, and in the room sat a quiet woman in a coarse black robe. "Welcome to your new home," she said, and behind young Hildegard the great stone door slammed shut. And there was grayness and silence and sorrow, though a light shone brightly inside her. "My name is Jutta," said the solitary woman, "and I will teach you about the world. And so day by day Jutta taught Hildegard many things. She taught her how to read. She taught her how to sing. She taught her all about the Bible. All day long they studied and prayed, Jutta and Hildegard safe inside their private world. It came to pass after many years inside this room that Jutta died, and Hildegard, who was now a young woman, decided to leave the room. And Hildegard was such a good person, so wise and kind, that the other women elected her mistress. As mistress, Hildegard was beloved of the other nuns and very respected. And yet she was not happy. She longed to tell someone of her secret, of the world she saw inside her head. The longer that she kept the world a secret, the worse her headaches had become. And there was grayness and silence and sorrow, though a light shone brightly inside her. Then one night as she writhed in pain, a voice spoke to her. And the voice said, "This is the voice of God, and when you see a great light inside you, that too is God. You must stop hiding my light. You must let other people see what you see. You must let the light inside you shine out." Hildegard was terrified. So the secret she'd been keeping all these years was God? But what was she to do? She was just a poor little woman, and women were supposed to keep quiet. Who was she to claim that God had spoken to her? No one would believe her. So she would be laughed at. She would be laughed at or sent away or maybe even put in prison. This world inside her head could get her in a lot of trouble. And yet she knew not what it was, and she knew who she was. And she knew now what it was, and she knew who she was, and she knew why she had been put on this earth. And so in fear and trembling, Hildegard began to tell her visions to a monk and a nun, and they wrote her visions down. She described the secret world inside her head and all that she saw there. And lo, she beheld the most beautiful flower, hanging down from a flame, surrounded by darkness. And a person as well was brought forth from the flame, and light from this flame began to brighten the darkness like the glow of a rosy dawn. And lo, she beheld a woman of great size, as large as a city, all clad in gold and surrounded by angels. And she shone with the color of a purple hyacinth, and behind her stood a huge round tower, whose windows were adorned with bright green emeralds, and this woman could not be destroyed in any way because of the strength of this tower. And lo, she beheld the entire universe with all its stars, and in the center was the earth that was filled with greenness, and in the center of this greenness was a person who shone with the light of the entire universe. And these visions poured out of her, and she explained what each one meant so that others might understand her God, and who gave her all these images. And every time she let her own light shine, the world was a little brighter, and her headaches went away, and she felt as young and green as a child. And in time she had enough visions to fill an entire book. It came to pass that her book was presented to the Pope, who was in charge of all the churches of every kingdom. He would decide if she, as a woman of God, had a right to be heard. And lo, the mighty Pope approved of Hildegard and her divine visions. In no time at all, Hildegard was known throughout the land. People came from far away to behold this remarkable woman, to see if she was truly a prophet, to see if she was real. What they found was a very real and very humble person who took no pride in her great power. "I'm just a poor little woman," she always claimed. "I'm just a feather on the breath of God." And yet the world looked on in wonder as this poor little woman blossomed like the tree of life itself. In time, the tree of Hildegard bore so much fruit the world could barely contain it. She wrote angelic songs that were sung by her nuns, who dressed up in crowns and wings when they sang. Her music, she said, came straight from God through her visions. Everything she did came straight from her visions. A book about medicine, a book about animals, even an alphabet, and an entire language. In time, she became a great preacher, and she preached across the land. She preached that the force of God was strongest in the small and poor and frail. She wrote letters to her king, commanding him to change his ways, abandon his pride, and the king wrote back to her and paid her the respect that she was due. That was her due. When she had finished her work on this earth, her secret world kept shining because she had the courage to let it shine.